Welcome to the good, the bad, and the ugly Jakobs shotguns. Some of my favorite guns in the game, so this will be a fun one. Jakobs shotguns. God, I don't know what shotguns are so unique. I don't know which one to look at. I will bring up a quad here. Jakobs shotguns have the highest pellet count of all shotguns. They have an additional 2 pellets from other shotguns. They have pretty good damage, I think second only to Torg. And they have the fastest fire rate by far, but they are usually limited to very few shots. Quads, coaches, and bushwhacks are usually 2 shots, where your long riders and such, sometimes three shots or so. So still limited shots, but they have fast reload. Let's see if I can put my quad in my hand. So fast reload, fast fire rate. So you just put out a ton of pellets really fast. And that is Jakobs shotguns in a nutshell. I absolutely love the way they work. To me, they're just a ton of fun. Just pop off a bunch of quick, powerful shots and be done with it. They aren't high DPS guns like the Hyperion. They're more burst DPS, not sustained DPS, because you are reloading every 2 shots. The other thing they have, like all non-Jakobs snipers, is a multiplicative hidden crit bonus of 15%. So when you see a gun with a crit bonus on it, like the Dox here, it's not actually 72%. What it is a 50% and a 15%. But they multiply each other, and that's why it shows up as that. So that's Jakobs guns in a nutshell. And we'll start with the striker. There are no Pearl or Seraph red text Jakobs shotguns, and honestly that's kind of disappointing because they would have been really interesting. Or at least hopefully they would. Not all those guns turned out that great. Sorry, something got caught in my throat there. So the striker, compared to the long rider, has same damage, same pellets, increased accuracy, which is important. It's about 10% here. That does matter. And then additional in the magazine size, which is pretty nice as well. So that you can, get an extra shot off with it. The big thing is the critical hit. You have a bonus 50% critical hit damage on the striker. Now with that 15%, it shows up at 72, but it's 50 and 15. If you use the critical hit prefix, you get even higher accuracy and 100% crit bonus plus the 15%, which is really, really massive. So it is like a sniper in a shotgun form, kind of like the Skull Masher is a shotgun in sniper form. As you can see here, it's pretty accurate. And right there I landed all pellets on the head. Right there I did not. And there I did. So I think I can back up. Let's see. Yep, so that one was a miss. Now I do have a Jakobs stock on here, which is kind of dumb, which makes that recoil pretty bad, as you can see it going nuts there. So with this, you definitely would want to stay away from a Jakobs stock. I just went for all matching parts just for the look of them on these. And again, I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I do blades so they don't affect the stats in any way. So that is the striker. I think this is a really cool shotgun. It kind of changes the way you use shotguns, but you can absolutely obliterate enemies with this when you use it right. And although these are kind of shotguns you want to aim accurately with, the extra critical hit bonus and accuracy just makes a gun not a lot of people use into a really amazing gun that I think a good amount of people use, and more should use the striker because it is incredibly awesome. So that is the striker. I think is a very good legendary. Next we go to the Twister. One of my ultimate favorite guns in the game. And it's almost broken what they did with this. They pretty much turned a Jakobs shotgun into a Torgue shotgun. So the twister here, you see, has massively increased damage, and you lose 1 pellet. But that is almost double your base damage. Not quite, but it's a lot. He's at 431 versus 276. That's a huge increase to damage on a quad shotgun that already has massive damage. You have massively increased accuracy, which we will look at that in a second. Because that's not, well, it's accurate, but it's not. It's kind of confusing. You have drastically lowered fire rate, and everything else is the same except it comes in shock, so you have a chance to shock. You see that plus 100% weapon damage there. It has 100% splash damage on it. So I have no bar, no skill points, nothing to affect damage here. Now I'm going to shoot it at him kind of off to the side here. So 431 and 862. 431 there, as you can see. Oops. 431. So it has a pellet and splash, and it's 100% splash. But there we go. There's some. Oh, that's 1293. That's why. Which would be 431 times 3. I thought I saw 293 in there. So whenever you do this, you can't get numbers that aren't divisible by 431. So not only do you have massively increased base damage, but you have 100% splash damage. So if you land with all the pellets here, let me bust out a calculator. Maybe I should have done this before the video, but 431, 324 times 17. So that's, if you hit with all of the pellets, you will do 14 million damage, just all on body shot. Compared to 4 million on the barbed quad. Now, the other thing you see is some of the pellets go wide, and unfortunately with all that damage spread out, it's hard to do that on the fly here to see how much damage we're getting there. But you can see that's a ton of damage. Just so much stacked up there. You see at least one for 8 million, a bunch of 862s. There's 2 1.7s in there. And if I can shoot a wall where they all go there. Nope. Bullet decals. Gonna be confusing. So this is the twister, and the other things that it does have slow down bullet speed, and they shoot in a tornado that kind of gets tighter, more vertical as it goes, and eventually the pellets dissipate in the air. As you can see there. And because they are slow, it's pretty easy for enemies to dodge them, but you know, with a quad, you wouldn't have very good accuracy at much of a range anyways, even though you have fast projections or bullet speed there. You see they're just like instantly there. You're going to have your bullets so spread out, you're not going to be able to kill anything at range, really. So the slow bullet speed doesn't really bother me. You see the fire rate there is this is about as fast as you can fire. Oops, compared to that, which you can see is significantly higher fire rate, but with that massive damage, it doesn't really matter with the twister. You know, you can one-shot enemies in OP8 without slag with this thing pretty easily. So, yeah, the twister, just ridiculously powerful. In fact, I'm going to actually compare this to a purple Jakobs quad. And you can see there it still is massively more powerful. even when you go up to a purple. So the drawbacks here are easily worth it, and this gun just has a stupid amount of power. Especially just, once again, quads are some of the highest single shot hitting guns in the game. And then you increase the damage that much, and then double that with splash damage. And then the other thing the Twister has, which I have not mentioned yet, and it's hard to see on this target dummy, but the bullets keep moving after impact. So you can shoot an enemy, the bullets will travel through that enemy and hit other enemies at penetration, kind of like Boar. So what's cool is with Boar, when you shoot it through an enemy, not only do you get a second pellet to keep traveling through, the original keeps traveling through. So if you hit all the pellets on an enemy, instead of 17 pellets going through that enemy to hit the next one, you can have up to 34 pellets going through to hit the next enemy. And then if you hit another enemy, yeah, you start to get it. Then it's 68 pellets. That's how Boar can be broken. And makes Twister one of the best guns with both chain reaction and Boar, and nth degree and close enough and all that stuff. So, a ridiculous gun. It's incredibly hard to get, and I almost just wish they would have just made this legendary. Not that it needs to be based off a purple gun to be more powerful. It's just weird to have like such a powerful gun as a blue gun, and it's so hard to farm because you have to spawn up triple O to get it. And it doesn't matter that it's blue and not orange. It's just this gun I think deserves the orange color. This could have been a Sarah for a pearl. Like, it's that good. But it is not. It is a blue gun. And it is easily one of the best guns in the game. So next, I'm going to go to our bandit-barreled guns, which we have 2 of. We have the Hydra and the Triquarta, both compared to the Bushwhack. So I'm going to kind of just do all these together. They have some different firing patterns, so I'm going to go find a wall that I can shoot here. It's down there, it's kind of tough. So you can kind of see the firing pattern here. So you can see with this, the bullets go out in a line. And that is our Hydra. The Triquarta, they shoot in a triangle. They're a little more concentrated. So both of these are, again, our bandit barrel, which I don't love the bandit barreled Jakobs shotguns as much, because a Jakobs and a Torg barrel, both the coach and the quad, give you bonus damage. So the bushwhack, like, you get the more pellets, but it's not really, the damage doesn't go up. It's in the middle. It's a good shotgun if you find them, but it's just coaches and quads are better. So they base 2 guns off of this. They both have increased pellet counts. So first we see the Hydra. And the Hydra is the one that shoots kind of groups of pattern in a line of 5 kind of groupings. Almost like the Varuk in a way. It says it has higher accuracy, where those middle ones always hit, but that spread is kind of pushed out wide. But you have increased damage per pellet, and you get an extra 5 pellets, and increased accuracy. The problem is it goes so wide, so either it's good on like a group of enemies, or maybe a big enemy, but you have to be really close to land all those pellets. I'm not in love with it the most. I'll go kind of play with it on the target dummy here. And the Triquarta has more pellets, but lower damage, increased accuracy once again, increased mag size, but that can matter. Like, if I've got foresight, I can get more than 2 shots out of it, but it's still just a 2-shot naturally. The fire rate's slightly lower, but you're not going to really notice that. So this one I don't love because of the lower damage. So if you have lower damage with the extra pellets, meh. And you can land more of those pellets than a typical quad. Because you can see how wide these are going out there. Let's see, do I have another wall here? I can really show that. Not really. So you can see that there, and that's fairly close range. Oh, I guess the spread. This one's a little more reliable, but it's not that much difference, actually. So I think this one kind of failed at just lowering the damage. If they would have left the base damage alone and increased the pellets, then we have something. But as it sits, I don't know. See what kind of average damage we're getting here. You know, for first shot, so that was with some crits. So it looks like 333, 3.3 is landing most pellets. Let the recoil come back. So it looks like the Triquarta is landing more pellets. And then you go to the Hydra, and you can see this has got a much tighter spread, but you're never going to get more damage, really, on a single target at least, because it's so spread out. Now it is easier to land more crits, because that central grouping you can really land on crit really well. Or compared to this. But really, I'm not in love with any three of these. I mean, if you're leveling up, they're all good guns to get. But unfortunately, the spread's too wide on here to really land those pellets. And then this one, the reduced damage just doesn't really help it. So where I love those first two I went after, these bandit ones, just like the bushwhack, just not quite as good. So next we go to our Jakobs barreled Jakobs red text shotguns to end it off. These are much different. You have our tidal wave here. So the tidal wave has increased damage per pellet, slightly lowered fire rate, but a much different firing pattern. So you can see here, they go in a pattern and can bounce. So they have that wave pattern. Which can work to your advantage with some things, but when you just go to a regular coach, coaches are pretty accurate, especially if you ADS, and easy to put in massive damage on a target. For this, you can see I was aiming right at his head, but I missed because of the wave pattern there too, so you kind of gotta aim down there. It's not that hard to crit with them, and Jakobs shotguns you should be critting. So where this is kind of interesting, it's just not that effective. I've played with it for fun quite a bit, and it can be fun. It's got some nice synergy with like chain reaction and bore, probably gauge with it close enough. But in the end of the day, it will probably get outperformed by just a coach gun. And this is where, opposite of Hyperion guns, where Hyperion guns, they were so much better. The red text were so much better than the regular Hyperion guns. Jakobs non-red text guns are so good, it's hard to get better than them. The Twister and the Striker do it for sure, but on these bandit barrels, they didn't really deliver. And the tidal wave doesn't really deliver. It's an interesting gun. It's different to use, and I like that. So A for effort. They didn't reduce anything on the stats, really. It's just that fire pattern is so wide, and it's hard to get that much out of it. So Tidal Wave is somewhat of a fail. Then next we go to our Orphan Maker, which, very nice, pretty paint job. It's one of the Captain Blades guns. So the Orphan Maker has massively increased damage per pellet, but you only have 2 pellets, so you have less damage overall here. That's 1.5 million per pellet. You have increased accuracy by quite a bit, but that may be just due to the pellet count. In fact, for only 2 pellets, that's not great accuracy. Fire rate goes up. You're gonna actually be able to fire that much faster though. And reload speed is better, which is good. But you also get hurt by it. So, although that damage coming back to you isn't that bad, this is an OP8, and granted I have the blockade on, which makes it a terrible gun with a B. See, it takes a little bit more out of the B there. So that's both pellets hitting 3.6 compared to a quad 5.5. Now, the Orphan Maker, if you get the docks or the vertical grip on it, you are doubling the damage. Because now you're going from 2 pellets to 4 pellets. And the Orphan Maker, it's a very good, it can be a very good shotgun with that grip. Kind of like the Butcher and the Slow Hand, it requires the vertical grip. So the vertical grip on a coach gun is going to change you from 13 pellets to 15 pellets. It's not going to increase it that much, but this, it's going to double it. And with a vertical grip on the Orphan Maker, it's a very deadly shotgun. So now if you land all 4 pellets, you're looking at doing a little over 6 million without a crit, without any other skills and anything. That's a lot of damage. And this is why it's so good with Sal and his money shot build. It's a 2-shot, so every other shot you're getting money shot, and it's got massive damage to start with. And if it's in his offhand, he doesn't take that damage. So I'm kind of torn on the Orphan Maker. It's hard for a lot of characters to make it great. If they would have just made the pellet count a little bit higher here and keep that damage, maybe make it a 4 pellet count, and a vertical grip can make it turn into a 6. Because if you do that, it's good on its own without a vertical grip. Vertical grip makes it a little bit better, but it would also open up the accessories, because with 4 pellets and a Dox prefix to tighten up that accuracy to land them on crit better, it'd be really awesome. But as it stands now, it's a kind of a bitch to farm, because you need a Jakobs grip on it. You don't want a Jakobs stock on it for sure, but other stocks are fairly open. But you need a Jakobs grip, and you need the right prefix. And that would be the vertical grip, or rustlers. So, Tidal Wave, not that good, but fun and interesting. Orphan Maker, it can be really good, but it requires certain parts. And with those parts, it can be one of the most deadly guns in the game. Like I said, the Deputy Sal build, if you guys aren't familiar with it, I'll try to remember to put a link up to it as maybe an annotation or a card or something here. And it is absolutely one of the most deadly setups in the game, if not the most deadly setup in the game. You can pretty much one-shot every Dragon, even on OP8. So the Orphan Maker's potential is massive, but it requires a bit of a setup. Maya can use it pretty good because of things like Life Tap, but it could have been quite a bit better. So those are Jakobs Red Tex shotguns. All in all, a little disappointing, but not that bad just because Jakobs shotguns are so good. But there are times where you might just be better off with like a Citrine coach gun or a Citrine quad on a lot of these. The Orphan Maker outside of Deputy Sal, with most characters and setups, you'd be better off with just a regular coach gun. The Twister and the Striker definitely are great guns, but the other 4, Like I said, Orphan Maker can be. The other three, not really. You can use them, but they're just a little more limited and just not that spectacular. So, for my favorite shotguns, just disappointing red text. But that doesn't stop me from using them because, man, I love my Jakobs shotties. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think and your opinions on these guns below. You know, should they have been better or not? And I will see everyone later. If you have not subscribed yet, please do that. Stop by the forum, and which I will link the forum thread in the build or in the description below. Stop by there and contribute as well. And I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.